what can the Bills expect when it comes to how much DJ Moore can give them? I don't know if they really need a giant season out of DJ Moore, but what will Moore do? What's the reasonable expectation for this receiver that they've traded away a potentially valuable second-round pick for? Well, there are a number of Bears fans who will tell you that the 50-catch, 680-yard season Moore had last year in Chicago was not really Moore's fault. That this is still a high-level receiver who got pushed aside because he didn't connect with the quarterback. Now, mind you, he connected with the quarterback for 96 catches the year before, but last year not as much. The offensive coordinator and the scheme could have a lot to do with that. What Ben Johnson likes to do is run a very precise offense. He wants receivers who are going to run 8 yards and then go inside 3 yards and stop. DJ Moore's game, and you can see it on film, is I'm going to run around and find space and go there because there's no defender there. And perhaps it's just as simple as DJ Moore's lack of precision, DJ Moore's more open style when it comes to getting open just didn't click with what Ben Johnson wanted to do. Now, Ben Johnson might be the best offensive mind in football right now. I know Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay will have legitimate things to say about that, but Ben Johnson is without a doubt up near the very tippy top. So if DJ Moore didn't work there, why is he going to work in Buffalo? Well, Josh Allen is not exactly an uber cerebral quarterback. It's not how he operates. It doesn't mean he's dumb. It just means it's not what he does. Josh Allen has a cannon. Josh Allen has incredible athletic ability. Josh Allen is impossible to bring down. So those are the things that Josh Allen is smartly going to lean into. And that means a receiver like DJ Moore, who frankly is just going to flat out get open, could easily work a whole lot better in Buffalo. But the question is, how much better is he going to work? And I think there are many, many reasons to have skepticism about DJ Moore having a super productive year. Did some research today, and the bar we're going to use for all this discussion is an 1,000-yard season. Keep in mind, a 1,000-yard season is easier now than it was a few years ago because the league plays 17 games. You don't even have to average 60 yards a game to get to 1,000 yards in a season. But ironically, coincidentally, there have been less 1,000-yard seasons among players 29 and older than there were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And remember, DJ Moore is going to be 29 in less than a month. So this is what we're talking about. Receivers in the NFL currently can, and many do, fall right off a cliff by the time they hit 30 years old, if not earlier. And to underscore this point, if you go back 25 years to 2001, last 25 seasons, there have been 156 1,000-yard seasons by a player 29 or older. If you go 5 years forward, so take out 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, and go to the last 20 years, that number drops to 108. So you are subtracting a fifth of that range, a fifth of those seasons that you're using as the sample size, and the sample drops by almost a third. If you go another 5 years, so over the last 15 seasons, there are only 66 years of a player 29 or older who had a 1,000-yard season. So there are more 1,000-yard seasons by a player 29 or older between 01 and 2010 than there are 2011 to 2025. And it's not even close. It's 90 to 66. Now, the curve kind of flattens out there because if you go 5 more years forward and go to 10 years, there have been 42 1,000-yard seasons by players age 29 or older in the last 10 years. So the league is averaging about 4 and change over the last 15. It's the same average over the last 10. So 2011 till now, though, in the whole league, 4 guys, 29 or older, are going to get 1,000 yards on average. So right off the bat, just simply by the virtue of being 29 years old, the odds are already against DJ Moore going for 1,000 yards this year. But let's take it a little deeper, okay? DJ Moore isn't just 29 years old. There are more circumstances to what he's doing. DJ Moore is coming to a new team. He's going to a new quarterback, right? And the hope for Bills fans, the goal for Bills fans is that Josh Allen and his ridiculous athletic ability will turn DJ Moore back into the 1,000-yard plus receiver he was a few years ago. All right, well then, how often has that happened? And the answer is, as you might imagine, even less. Before we get into the exact circumstances of the DJ Moore situation, let's just pare it down to receivers in the last 20 years who have gone for 1,000 yards as a 29-year-old without doing it the year before, having 950 or less, because there's a couple guys had 960. Didn't help me in the research here at the point I'm trying to make. Only 10 receivers have done what DJ Moore is trying to do, which is go for 1,000 yards at age 29 a year after not doing it. So most of the 66 guys who have had 1,000 yards when they were 29 since 2011 also had 1,000 yards the year before. DJ Moore did not. So we're already talking about a player whose production had decreased the year before. And frankly, DJ Moore's production decreased a little bit 2 years before that too. So 2 years in a row of decreased production. One mostly irrelevant season going down, and then a big notable one that raises red flags, going 50 for 682 last year. So only 10 guys, if DJ Moore goes for 1,000 this year, have done what he's trying to do. Keep in mind, on top of that, DJ Moore is doing it on a new team with a new quarterback. If you include those parameters, the number drops to 5 receivers who have done it. DJ Moore also has never made a Pro Bowl. Now, I know the Pro Bowl is wonky, and guys who make it can be a popularity contest, and then guys ask out and other players make it. So the Pro Bowl is never going to be a hard and fast, beyond reproach barometer of how good a receiver is. But you can use it, right? There is a level of player who would have made the Pro Bowl. DJ Moore has never made a Pro Bowl. And I know it sounds weird for a guy that's had 90-plus catches multiple times, 1,000 yards multiple times. DJ Moore has never been to a Pro Bowl. So if you're talking about receivers who have caught 1,000 yards in their age 29 or more season, who have never been to a Pro Bowl, 5 guys. 5 guys in the last 20 years. So there are multiple reasons why DJ Moore, just historically, is not a good bet to get to 1,000 yards. In fact, his line right now at DraftKings is 774.5, which to me actually sounds like a pretty good number. It's pretty much about halfway, maybe not halfway, about 100 yards more than what he had last year. I would have a tough time betting that either way. I think that's a solid number. So we've gone through a couple different parameters here about what the odds are against DJ Moore getting 1,000 yards. Well, how about we put all the stuff together? A receiver who, age 29, on a new team or a new quarterback, who has never made the Pro Bowl before. Has that ever happened? What DJ Moore is trying to do? I found one guy who fits that parameter. And Bills fans know who this is. John Brown. Back in 19. His first year with the Bills, he had 1,000 yards coming off a 40-catch, 700-yard season in Baltimore. Now, the caveat with John Brown is that most of the few years before he joined the Bills were injury marred. He had a season 2 years before that where he barely played at all. Obviously, he goes to Baltimore. He's still figuring things out. Wasn't a big part of that offense. And then he gets to Buffalo, where A, he's healthy most of the year, but B, becomes the number one receiver. So it's not like John Brown's lack of production was a similar circumstance to DJ Moore, where he was healthy. DJ Moore played the whole year. He just didn't get the ball. And as much as Bears fans might say that it was about lack of chemistry or not being in the scheme, one thing that most football experts will tell you is that targets are an earned stat. You get the ball thrown to you because you're open, or you get the ball thrown to you because you're where you're supposed to be. Now, I don't know exactly what went wrong in Chicago. You'd have to be probably in the offensive meetings to understand that for sure. But when a guy is not getting the ball, Occam's razor says it's because he's not getting open enough or he's not where he's supposed to be enough. And those things don't just suddenly change most of the time in a new spot. And as much as Bills fans could point to John Brown, and it's not unfair to do that, to say, hey, it happened with John Brown, so it could happen with DJ Moore. That is a reasonable take. But John Brown was coming from an injury-marred past where he just wasn't on the field enough in most cases. DJ Moore doesn't have that. DJ Moore hasn't missed a game in 5 years, which is, frankly, the best check in the pro column for adding DJ Moore to your team. The guy doesn't miss games. But expecting him to turn around and have a 1,000-yard season after declining production at age 29, you're talking about almost a 1 in 100 shot here. Expecting Moore to roll in and give you number one receiver level production immediately is not consistent with what's been happening over the last few years in the NFL. Not based on his specific circumstances and not based simply on the fact that he's 29 years old. Recently, last 5 to 10 years, the league has been going away from production from older receivers. And this goes back 20, 30 years. It wasn't all that long ago, more than a decade, but not that long ago, to where the rookie receiver, the young guy, would not be ready to be productive in an NFL offense. In the same way that production for receivers 29 and older has declined over this century, production for receivers in the first couple of years has increased. How many times do we see now? A rookie receiver rolls in and has a 1,000-yard season, becomes dominant. That happens more than the 29 and 30-year-old being productive at that age. Now, it's not impossible. There are other examples of guys who have done it. And two that I think Bills fans should also draw hope from are Steve Smith and Courtland Sutton. Both guys, longtime receivers, Smith significantly longer than Sutton, had rebirths with a new quarterback. When Cam Newton rolled in to Carolina, Steve Smith went from being a borderline productive 700-yard receiver right back into being a star. 1,213 yards, I don't remember the exact numbers, but he was really good. And this was well beyond age 29. This is when Smith was like 30, 33. Courtland Sutton, well, not that old, but similar, an older receiver who had been around the block, who was not very productive. Bo Nix shows up, and probably more importantly, Sean Payton, and all of a sudden he's a 1,000-yard receiver again. So there are clues and there are precedents for a guy like DJ Moore going into a new spot, showing up, seeing a new quarterback who can play, and suddenly going back to a 1,000-yard season. It can happen, but it's pretty damn unlikely. Now, the second question from this is, how badly do the Bills need Moore to be a 1,000-yard receiver? And I think the answer to that is they don't really need it that bad. This is an offense that was pretty damn good anyway last year. I know there are questions with it. It wasn't as good. We all had issues with how much it looked like Josh Allen had to drag the offense to first down at times. That without that go-to receiver, it was so hard, especially in games against better teams. And DJ Moore has a great opportunity to relieve some of that stress, but that might be all he has to do. I don't know if the Bills need Moore to be a 1,300-yard receiver. I don't know if you need DJ Moore to catch 10 touchdowns. I think the Bills might just need DJ Moore to give me 1 third down a game. Give me 2 big plays in January per week. You don't need him to be Jamar Chase. You need him to be a little bit better than what the Bills had before, maybe more than a little bit. Because this offense was already really good to begin with. There isn't much more ceiling to reach, no matter what you add. Remember, 2 years ago, they scored 30 points all the time. This is already a high above average offense. So if you add DJ Moore, I don't think the Bills need him to suddenly go out and go back to being a 1,000-yard receiver. And beyond that, if DJ Moore is just good enough to attract the best corner on the other team, or at least a little more defensive attention. And this is something we talked about when the Bills traded for Moore initially. If you get 700 yards from DJ Moore, but his presence and his ability and his threat open things up for Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir and even Josh Palmer, well, you might only get 700 yards from DJ Moore, but maybe Kincaid has a $150 more than he did last year. I know Kincaid being healthier would be a big part of that too, but for this argument, let's just say DJ Moore is the catalyst. If you get 100 more from Khalil Shakir, 50 more yards from Josh Palmer, well, all of a sudden, the 700-yard season, the 750-yard season that Vegas says is right about where DJ Moore will land this year, it's still going to add up to another 1,000 yards. And if the Bills are getting 1,000 more yards from the receiving group in general, then this is going to be a ridiculous offense. So even if DJ Moore is not going to defy historical standards, not be the historical outlier, coming back to a new team at age 29 and going out for 1,200 yards, the Bills might not need it. This was still a team that last year went to overtime in the divisional round. They're close. They're close to figuring this out. And DJ Moore being a ridiculously good number one might not even be priority A1 for this team getting over the hump. Frankly, it's probably the new head coach and defensive coordinator who will have a whole lot more say into what happens than maybe DJ Moore, even if Moore certainly has the talent and potential to be a high-impact player. So yeah, the odds are against DJ Moore getting to 1,000 yards. I think Bills fans need to understand the amount of historical precedent here that says DJ Moore at this age in this situation is really unlikely to be a great receiver this year, to be an uber productive receiver this year. But if he can give the Bills a little lift, spread that lift around a little bit, then he will have, I think, served his purpose in terms of why the Bills spent that number 2 pick to get a better receiver.